The Dyslexic Cosplayer is brought to you by Foamery, more on them midway through the video, and by our wonderful Patreon supporters, and viewers like you. Thank you. Hello, friends, family, and patrons, and once again today I'm here to talk to you about my DragonCon build. First of all, I had another epiphany working on this project. Never be afraid to reach out to your friends for help. If I'm being completely honest, I have been in a serious productivity funk. I recognize at least half of that is because I'm wrapping up the majority of my work for the season that pays my bills, but it still didn't help matters that I just felt very unmotivated and felt like a lot of the challenges I was facing were just that little bit too big for me to handle by myself. But fortunately, I reached out to my wonderful friend, Kate, from Wickedly Stitched by Kate, who's a fellow cosplayer and maker. You should totally go check out her stuff, by the way. Links are down below. But anyway, I reached out to them and was like, hey, do you want to maybe meet up and just do a cosplay day together and work on stuff together? And, oh boy, it was so much more productive than I could have realized. We'll get into that in just a second, but once again, I just want to really stress, if you are struggling and you kind of realize you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends. You may also notice there are some format changes. I'm going to be switching to doing a lot more photos or short video clips since I need to document my making of this process as part of the costume contest. And I found that trying to do the camera work was a lot more intensive to set up, film, edit, and everything else. So this is an easier alternative for me to get stuff out on time. Plus it makes it easier for me to pull stuff together when I have to show the judges this is how I made things and try and convince them that I actually made this stuff. Hopefully the changes won't be too noticeable, and I think you'll still enjoy the content nonetheless. At any rate, let's get on to what I've been working on. So one of the big ways Kate was able to help me was giving me a hand making a chest template for my chest armor. I did this by wrapping my chest first in saran wrap and then wrapping it in painter's tape. This gives it a little bit more rigidity and allows me to make a good paper template. So one of the challenging aspects of my particular kind of dyslexia is I'm very good at visualizing 3D stuff mentally. However, two-dimensional stuff is a lot harder, especially when it comes to drafting and creating templates. So one of the other ways that Kate was really helpful on this build was she was able to help me trace out the sword design that I had been wrestling with. Thank you again, Kate, so much for your help, and I really encourage all of you to go check out their work over at Wickedly Stitched by Kate or look them up on Instagram. Links will be down below. While I was there, I was also able to start in on some of the work for making my gloves that are coming down the line. Shortly after that, now armed with a template, I decided to start in on working on the sword. So I got out some 4mm EVA foam and decided to trace the blade design out onto the foam and then cut out 2 long pieces. Once the pieces that would become the blade were cut out, I glued a piece of fiberglass rod in between the 2 pieces to act as the spine of the sword, also to give it a little bit of a raised middle to help it look more like a sword blade. I'm going to probably have to grind and heat form the edges so they're nice and flat, but that's coming a little bit later. After that, I decided to cut a piece of PVC pipe to make the handle for the blade. Then I cut it again to cut a slot in it and flattened it out and slid the sword blade into the slot that I had made in the sword hilt. Next, for the crossguard, I cut another piece of 4mm foam and put slots in it for fiberglass rods. Then I cut 2 pieces of 10mm foam and sandwiched the pieces with the fiberglass rod in between. At this point, you may be asking, where am I getting all of this EVA foam from? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's time for a message from our sponsor. When it's time to buy your EVA foam, it can be hard to know who to get your foam from. However, this foamsmith highly recommends this video's sponsor, Foamery. Foamery is my favorite EVA foam maker. I've actually met the owner, talked with them, and their goal is to really make high quality foam ethically sourced and ethically made. I can personally attest to the quality of their products and their generosity. I've always said I would never take on a sponsor I didn't 100% endorse, and I can definitely say I highly recommend their products, so go check them out and see for yourself. If you've ordered some of their foam, tell them I sent you. Head on over to their website at thefoamery.com, link down below or on your screen. And get to smithing, you foam smiths! Ow! And now back to the video. Thank you again to Foamery, and really, I just want to say once again, please go check out their stuff. It's wonderful. Anyway, let's get on to the video. So once I had glued those pieces together, I had dremeled down the edges to try and give them a cleaner, more metallic look. So it was time to start in on the pommel. This time I cut out a piece of 4mm foam and 2 pieces of 10mm foam, and I glued them together around the base of the sword. Once that was finished drying, I took the Dremel to it once again, plus added a nice little detail piece around the top of the crossguard. But it still felt like it needed some detail, so I broke out an old stencil and used some 2-part plastic resin to make some detail-y pieces. Yes, detail-y is a technical term. Some people call them gribblies, I call them detailies. Buzz off. But yeah, you can see with just a little bit of detail work, it definitely brings out a whole new dimension to the costume. So in our next update video, I can almost certainly guarantee that I will have the chest armor done. I've got some fun ideas for what I want to do with that, especially since looking over at least the one major piece of concept art I'm drawing from, I've realized there are some fun design possibilities that I'm looking forward to playing with. So, baby steps moving forward. I'm also going to finally try and get the gloves done. I forgot how much of a pain it can be to cut out each of the individual articulating foam pieces, which is part of why I've been putting it off so long. But that's coming soon too. I'm also going to finish up the sword and hopefully have it painted by the time we do our next update video. So, yes, steady progress is being made, and thank you again to my wonderful friends, supporters, and patrons, and just generally everybody that's made doing this worth doing. So we're gonna be trying out a sign-off. Get to smithing, you foam smiths! Please tell me down in the comments below if this is working like at all, or if I'm just barking up the wrong tree of reality. Okay, thanks, bye. Thank you once again to all my friends, family, sponsors, and patrons, new and old.